Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, I want you to hold up one finger.
There it is.
One finger. Wherever you are in the Verballerhood out there, hold up one finger because we got one big preview episode left, Mr. Rubenstein. Gonna run hard through the tape today, my friend.
Yeah.
We've got the SEC Part 3 incoming, imminent. The next 60 minutes or so, we've got eight more teams
Yes.
to discuss. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. One conference preview because we are also doing Notre Dame and signing the U Constitution, right? We've
That's
got
correct,
one
yes.
episode left of previewing teams. That's going to be a part of a larger episode, but we're not leaving out Notre Dame. Should have been within the ACC episode this whole time, but Ty likes...
I disagree.
Ty
I like
likes
this.
his-
We're going to try this approach instead.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm okay with it. It's fine. Here's what I was thinking about, because I just took a shower. If you're watching this on youtube.com/solidverbal, you'll notice I have a particularly clean sheen to me. I do all of my best thinking in the shower. I clean my beautiful body, and I move forward with my life. So I was thinking about college, Ty, and thinking about going away to college. This is good Blink song, by the way.
Great
This
Blink song.
is a college football show. And there is something central to college, right? A lot of times people are moving. They're not going to college in your hometown. But even more important, you're going to college, and whatever you used to be, you didn't necessarily have to be anymore, right? If you were super into sports, but you're like, I'm past that part of my life, I'm getting into art, I'm getting into the cello, I'm getting into literature, whatever, you can change that. I changed my name from Danny to Dan.
I was going to say, you were a Danny, you became a Dan.
I became a Dan, first day. And there's something great about that. Obviously, there's a lot of movement in college football, and what you were at Washburn College doesn't mean that you're that at your next stop. What you were at Fresno State doesn't mean that's what you are at Minnesota, doesn't mean that's what you are at Texas Tech. And I can appreciate that, even though the SEC is where it just means more, where it does matter, right? Everything matters. My central thesis for this episode, given the teams we're talking about, given the struggles that some of these teams or the successes that some of these teams had last year, I think we can just sort of leave it in the past. And to quote your boy, Justin, or JC, or Chris, or Joey, or Lance, doesn't matter. There is something very specific about these teams that you figure out your offense this year, finally, Oklahoma, but you got that schedule. Doesn't matter if it's not good enough, right? Arkansas, you ended on a bang last year in that bowl game. Talon Green, huge, but then everybody leaves. Make new hires, bring in a bunch of transfers. So last year, in a lot of ways, for all of these teams, right? Auburn, look at Peyton Thorne. Some of the issues in the passing game for Auburn. Some of the issues that Hugh Freeze had after the games where he's just throwing his own players under the bus. It's a new year. There are new transfers. And you know what? If it's the same old story for Auburn, as it relates to the transfers, doesn't matter. I can't wait to talk about these teams because never in our preview season this year have we been faced with a grouping of programs that could go in so many different horrendous or spectacular directions. So what's the lesson in all of this, Ty? The lesson here is, doesn't matter if your offense is good, doesn't matter if your defense is good. All that matters is that with the schedules ahead, with the pressures ahead, in this conference, doesn't matter if you're not in sync.
Wow. That is an old-fashioned, vintage Dan Rubenstein preamble.
Thank you very
right
much.
there.
Thank you very much. A lot on the line here.
You're getting warmed up for the regular season.
Thank you.
Look, we've got, as you said, 8 teams in front of us. Tennessee, Texas A&M, South Carolina, Florida, Auburn, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. We can decide on the order here momentarily. Thank you for coming on back to the show. Hit follow, hit subscribe if you like what we do. That's the easiest, the freest way for you to support what Dan and I are doing here.
Yes.
If you're watching out on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment.
Oh,
we're told
yeah.
that the comments help now, or at least I saw somebody's theory on that.
This is only half the show. This is only half the show. The other half is happening down below in the comments, good or bad.
Leave a comment, hit the subscribe button. That stuff helps. And of course, as we have said time and again, verballers.com is where you can go to get these episodes a little bit early without all the ads. You get access to our community as well, Discord, the game that I'm going to spin up here in just a couple of weeks, the prizes that go along with that game, vote in the polls, that type of stuff. Verballers.com, VERBALLERS.com, Dan.
Agree.
I am excited for this episode. Really excited for this episode for all the reasons that you went through in your wonderful
I didn't mention
preamble.
South Carolina. I didn't mention Vanderbilt. Oh, there's so much wild card potential here.
There is so much wild card potential in this crop of 8 teams that I almost cannot wait to get started.
Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
Where do you want to get started? Which of these teams do you find it would be the best leadoff hitter on this episode?
Florida Gators.
Florida Gators. Yeah. Okay. Let's
You're
do
wearing
it.
that royal blue shade right now as we speak, so it felt right.
Florida went 8-5 a year ago. Their over and under this year is 7.5 wins. Finished strong, had a 4-game win streak to close out the year. That included upsets over LSU and Ole Miss, plus they won the bowl game over Tulane. You have to start any Florida preview this year by calling out the schedule. And I'm sorry to do it,
It's okay.
because I know it's not necessarily a team preview, but it is a season preview, in that this is easily one of the hardest schedules in the country, full
Correct.
stop.
Easily.
You know, everybody grades schedules a little bit differently. There is not much debate on this topic with regards to Florida. The schedule is murder.
Yeah.
So with that as a starting point, my big question, I think everyone's big question, and it's even more of a question now if you've been following any of the Florida injury news. What happens if DJ Lagway, A, does stay healthy this year, and B, makes the kind of jump that everybody is expecting / hoping for?
Right.
That, to me, is the big central question, the whole theme of this Florida season. And it does revolve around DJ Lagway now. We can talk about the health concerns, and all that. But that in and of itself, I think, is where you have to start this conversation.
That's, by the way, on the Florida broadcast in Barcelona. The health concerns. Yeah.
The health, yeah.
Continue.
No, I wanted to start there. So it's like, it's a really good situation at Florida.
Yeah.
I think we're finally starting to see the payoff after a few really hard years for Billy Napier, but good recruiting.
Yeah.
This roster is like 80% homegrown guys. I talked to Gator Dave from Gators Breakdown about this a few months ago. It's amazing how finding your guy in DJ Lagway can change the narrative around a program. And it's clear that he's been one of the big selling points in the recruiting game, getting some of these stars to come and play in Gainesville. So the upside with him is evident.
Yes.
6-0 last season in games that he both started and finished. There was one that he started but didn't finish, and they lost that one. I think that was a Georgia game. Throws a great deep ball, maybe the highest ceiling of any quarterback in college football right now, but he's young. He's young. Just a freshman. Bill Connolly, I talked a little bit about what Bill said in part 1, but based on what Bill was seeing in the numbers, on the tape, a lot of what Lagway needs to clean up is common freshman stuff. We're talking about processing. We're talking about just like accuracy in spots, knowing when to make the right move outside the pocket, things like that. I saw our friends over at PFF talked about some struggles that Lagway had against drop coverage. These are all things that can be fixed, but only if he stays healthy.
Correct.
Only if he stays healthy. Last year, it was a hamstring and a shoulder. He missed spring camp because of sort of a ambiguous arm thing.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, he picked up another knock that does not seem to be all that serious, but it's just, you don't want to keep hearing about these things with your star quarterback, right? So he's obviously the headliner. I think, again, this is where the conversation needs to begin with the Florida Gators. If you're listening to this, you already know about DJ Lagway, but I just need to reemphasize it. It really is all revolving around this guy.
I agree and disagree, just because there are questions elsewhere that will affect DJ Lagway, right? So it's wide receiver health and depth. And they played a ton of guys everywhere last year. They were, I think Bill C said, one of the unluckiest teams in terms of roster consistency, right? That they were playing so many different dudes because of injury. Highlighted, of course, that DJ Lagway was probably thrown into the mix a little bit too early given Graham Mertz's injury status. You're right that DJ Lagway should absolutely take a step forward, provided offensive line continuing to improve, wide receiver health, running game continues to be pretty good. They didn't do anything excellently last year. They are elite in terms of what they could potentially do well, but they haven't shown that specifically yet. And ahead of this schedule, by the way, the last 5 games I looked at it looks really bad now. In 2022, it would have been the craziest 5-game stretch in America. I'm very high on DJ Lagway. I'm very high on him because of when a quarterback shows immediate comfort and confidence as a true freshman. They were one of the best teams. If there was anything that they did extraordinarily well last year, they did generate a ton of explosive plays. They were kind of boom or bust, but they boomed a lot. And so I'm excited about more of that. That's going to require wide receiver health. The tantalizing true freshman Dallas Wilson just went down, I think, with an unspecified leg injury of some kind. Hopefully that's quick turnaround for him. I haven't seen an official report, so hopefully he's back soon.
Couple weeks. Yeah, it looks like a couple weeks, but it's not just him. I mean, Trey Wilson.
Missed a ton last year, yeah.
Trey Wilson was out, yeah, but he's been dealing with some injury stuff now in camp. Aiden Mizell nicked up as well at time of recording. So, yeah, it's his jump forward is definitely contingent on them having health out wide. I think they have a lot of good options.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just those names that we mentioned. J. Michael Sturdivant comes down from UCLA. I think he has an impact. Vernell Brown III, one of their prize recruits. Dallas Wilson, just to go back to him for a second, I think he has potential to be an absolute superstar.
Yeah.
I am thrilled to see what he can do in this Florida offense. How long it takes for him to get up to full speed, I guess that remains to be seen. But it's whatever your starting point is this. DJ Lagway, a quarterback that everybody agrees is going to be the dude, and a line that brings back 4 starters led by a guy like Jake Slaughter at center.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really, really good starting point with your offense. If they are now in this position of having to put the pieces around the star quarterback, you'd almost always rather have that situation than trying to figure out who your quarterback is.
Yeah.
Right? You have all the other pieces, but you don't have the guy. They've got Lagway. I think they're surrounding him with a really good supporting cast. They need to stay healthy, but it's all there. On offense, there should be some sort of quantum leap forward, provided we have that health.
Yeah, and that health better be there, and it better travel, because they have LSU and Miami on the road in the first, 4 or 5 weeks of the season?
Yep.
So Florida's going to be fascinating this year. The upside of Florida is super intriguing. Billy Napier still has a ton of pressure on him, although it was alleviated a little bit with how they finished last season. The defense is going to be fascinating because if there is concerns about offensive health, defense needs to get better quickly. Defense was fine, improved last year. It's much more of, I think Ron Roberts is assuming more power.
Ron Roberts is the guy. Austin Armstrong has since left. He went to Houston, but this is a defense last year was the most improved scoring defense in the SEC. They cut 13 points off per game, which is a pretty noticeable increase or decrease, I guess. The counterpoint is that the secondary gave up a bunch of big plays.
Yes.
And the returning talent is there. It just needs to improve. They can't do that again, obviously. So to your point of boom or bust, there was some busting going on the Florida side with regard to their secondary. But otherwise, I think the linebacking core is in a good spot. They need guys like Grayson Howard, Miles Graham to step up because they lose Shamar James.
Yep.
But I think there's talent there. I think the defensive line has guys that can play in the NFL, like Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp. These are really, really high caliber players that they've got to help anchor that defensive line. So I think they will be fine on defense, provided they can continue some of that momentum that we saw under Ron Roberts last season, and especially down the stretch. Right? I talked to Gator Dave about this when we interviewed him a couple months ago now, but part of that change that we saw when they did win 4 games to close out the season, I think was pretty strongly correlated to what we saw on the defensive side with some of those gains. So they got to continue that momentum.
Yeah, I think if you're a Florida fan, you're just hoping for a very boring season, right? That you're not hoping for boring, not necessarily great if it's you're not exciting offensively or defensively, but boring in terms of you're winning the games you should win.
And you're not getting hurt.
You're not getting hurt.
I hate to keep coming back to that, but
I hear you.
This is a recurring theme here that, yeah, if you're a Florida fan, like, let's just keep these guys healthy and see what they can all do together.
Right. Even the excitement of beating Ole Miss, that was an extremely losable moment for Florida, and that they won that game is a great sign. Starting, was it Aiden Warner against Texas? They really didn't have a chance in that spot. But really, they didn't lose to bad teams last year. As I recall, it was, A&M and Miami turned out to have a crazy, impressive offense. So it's winning boring games, staying healthy, not making dumb mistakes, having the defense continue to improve, having the offense look like it's more of a developed product. This is going to be a really fun Florida team, especially like you can look at the teams and you can look at the schedule, and it's more a product of, yes, that they have these games in a row. LSU and Miami. What's Miami's defense going to be like? What's LSU's defense going to be like? What's Tennessee's offense going to be like? What is Georgia going to find? What's Florida State going to find? Like, there are still a lot of teams with enormous questions on this schedule. So Florida could be the one who knocks, not the one receiving. So it's fun. It's fine.
I did a literal LOL when I saw the schedule.
Oh, no.
LOL.
Just to highlight this again.
You can say I laughed. You don't have to say LOL.
I'm trying to
You're not texting me right now.
I'm trying to be Gen Z.
I know.
We've got
it's so obvious that you just fit in with the youth. Yeah.
Younger listeners on this show.
Don't be sus, Ty.
We got a comment about that, by the way.
That's great.
At LSU, at Miami to close out September before a bye week. Then it's Texas, at Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and another bye.
Yeah.
Close out the year, the last 5 games, to your earlier point. Georgia in Jacksonville, Georgia coming off a bye, Florida coming off a bye. At Kentucky, at Ole Miss, home against Tennessee, home against Florida State.
All teams with huge questions.
Huge questions.
Maybe outside of Georgia, but yeah.
But that is a lot of ammo to close out this season. So
Sure.
Florida can continue what they did last year, finishing the year strong, more to the point of running hard through the tape. That would be quite a gauntlet to go through to close out this thing in November.
And don't forget,
I don't know
Florida
if they can
State
do it again, but
Florida State won nearly 3 games last year. So there's that.
as I said, the over-under is 7.5. I'm inclined to go over with Florida.
You know what? I will too. Just because bad luck isn't necessarily consistent all of the time. And so maybe the universe breaks them even.
I tend to go over. I think this is 8, maybe 9 if everything goes great.
Yeah.
And everybody stays healthy.
Yep. I'm with you.
I want to talk Oklahoma now.
Okay.
I said this on one of the other episodes we did. Oklahoma to me is the most interesting team in the country. And I don't even think it's close. I really don't.
So that Oklahoma LSU game for us is going to be very special because I think LSU is super fascinating. Yeah.
Both are. Oklahoma. The team went 6-7 last year if you count the bowl loss. The over-under this year is 6.5. They struggled in year one in their new membership in the SEC. It was 6-6 regular season. It was 2-6 in conference. It's about to be year 4 now for Brent Venables. And if you go back, walk back through the offseason, it seems pretty clear that Brent Venables understands the stakes at this point.
Definitely.
Very aggressive in the portal, very proactive in trying to fix the offense. To which I say,
a brand new bombshell is entering the villa.
There are 3 actually, if you want to really widen the aperture here. But the 2 biggest names to know, John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle. Ben, don't call me Eric Arbuckle.
Yeah.
Both of whom come down from Wazoo. Mateer wasn't technically the top quarterback in the transfer portal.
Okay.
Who was? Most interesting,
Who was number 1?
I think it was Nico.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Nico and then Carson Beck, at least per 24/7. But then John Mateer was 3rd. Either way, it doesn't matter. Might be the most interesting of all those names. Definitely a little bit of Baker Mayfield in his game.
Sure.
A really, really gifted runner. He would have been Oklahoma's leading rusher last season for what it's worth. Ben Arbuckle was his offensive coordinator in Pullman. Before that, Ben Arbuckle was at Western Kentucky, where he did wonders with Bailey Zappi. This was a very super aggressive hire by Brent Venables. Arbuckle is young. He has a track record. He makes offenses better almost immediately by installing his version of the air raid. That's just his deal. So he's going to play with tempo. He's going to try to stretch the field. It should be a different offense, Dan. Full stop.
Agree. Yeah, very excited to see if you can plug and play a coordinator quarterback combo from a smaller place, but Wazoo obviously is of power conference caliber and has been for quite some time. If you can plug and play that, like I guess sort of Vandy did last year, but expectations long term are just always going to be considerably higher at Oklahoma than they are at Vanderbilt, all due respect. So this is going to be super fascinating. You're right to be fascinated by Oklahoma. To me, watching Oklahoma last year, it wasn't a simply, oh, this quarterback isn't talented enough, although that case can be made. It was, this offense wasn't built for success in any conference, let alone the SEC. That from the ground up, from the offensive line, from receivers to running backs to Oklahoma's a very strange place to have a warm body problem. There's a lot of schools who have warm body problems, but a lot of these schools that we're previewing, when you look at the rosters, when you look at the recruiting, you're like, I don't know who's going to be the guy here, but they've recruited very well, and they're going to figure it out whether or not it's this transfer or this redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore or something like that. Oklahoma should be that kind of place, and last year it was a warm body search on offense for Oklahoma. And it was, 3 years ago as well, with the Dylan Gabriel year in between. So my question is, yes, the Arbuckle hire, bringing in John Mateer. We'll see on Jaden Ott. He missed some time last year. We'll see on receiver. We'll see on offensive line. I just don't want to be having this conversation next year about Oklahoma having a warm body issue along the offensive line.
If we're having this conversation again next year, it might be without Brent Venables.
Right.
I have 4 burning questions.
Okay.
That all relate to the Mateer Arbuckle thing.
Okay.
And how I think they fit in with the personnel on offense, the warm body thing, right? So, number 1, great season.
By the way, shout out warm bodies. What's better than a warm body? Continue.
The best.
Yeah.
Great season last year for John Mateer. Over 3,100 yards passing, 800 on the ground. Let's call it what it was, though. It was a Mountain West schedule.
Yeah.
So, can he replicate that against a very tough SEC, a very tough SEC schedule? I think is the biggest question that we have to ask coming into this thing, because
and
it
not
is a bit of a
surrounded,
jump.
right? And I was going to say, and not surrounded by proven SEC talent. He's not plug and play around Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, guys like that. Continue.
So that's the first thing. 2 is he's undeniably a really, really talented runner. He makes guys miss, Dan. I don't know if you've watched the tape of John Mateer. I have. He's fun. He's not always the most accurate passer. He has a tendency to hold on to the ball too long. This was a bad line last year, to your point. They were nicked up. They also had a 13% sack rate, which is not good. Now, Oklahoma fans are going to listen to this, and they're going to say, well, everybody was hurt. Of course the number was high.
Yes, of course.
Granted, I'm with you. They got to get better there. They still have Bill Beatonbow, their noted offensive line coach, who has been very productive. It just did not work out last season. If he can't improve this unit, there's a real problem, and it might be completely separate from John Mateer, from Jaden Ott, from Ben Arbuckle, but they got to get better up front. I think they will. I don't think they can get worse, but that's something else to watch, and I think that's got to be another big question about this offense. Number 3, receivers. Do they have the receivers to run this kind of passing game?
TBD.
What do you think? I mean, they were banged up out wide last year. I don't think they were healthy.
Missed a bunch of time.
I don't think they were healthy the whole year through, which didn't help.
They've recruited receiver okay. They have some blue chips, younger blue chips, who are working themselves into the rotation more and more, or have worked in. I'm not confident, but I'm willing to be surprised.
I just don't see a ton of star power out wide. It doesn't mean it can't work. Doesn't mean it won't be better. I think it has to be better.
Yeah.
But I think fair to ask the question. And then the 4th thing is Jaden Ott, who we alluded to and mentioned in passing, but Jaden Ott would be the 3rd name. I'm not going to play the sound again.
Yeah,
that I think
had some big games. Yeah,
can be a bombshell with this offense. has been very productive, was more productive a couple years ago at Cal, but had some injury issues. And, there's a whole conversation around Cal that is separate from this preview episode. But how they integrate Jaden Ott into this offense, which, again, is more of an air raid, remains to be seen and could be really interesting. I like Jaden Ott a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see how he fits into this scheme that Ben Arbuckle is bringing down from Pullman.
Agree.
Those are my 4 big questions about this team, at least on offense. I have more questions about defense, but offensively, I think that's how I am trying to structure my thinking around Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, that's the obvious question. And then the other obvious question is if the offense improves, is not killer, but is competent, pretty good at times, how good must the defense be to win some of the bigger or the biggest games on the Oklahoma schedule? Because on all 3 levels, there seems to be star power to varying degrees.
I think it should be a monster defense.
I think it'll be a very good defense, monster defense, excellent defense, whatever. But if they're hung out to dry for long stretches, offense is going 3 and out a little bit too often, or getting off the field a little bit too quickly, or dealing with injuries once again, you're asking so much of this defense to get to 8 wins, right?
No.
You're asking so much. And so I'm curious because they've recruited well, they've developed well, there's depth there, there's transfers there. But do they have to be a top 7 defense in America? Something like that?
They might have to be. They might have to be. And I'll get to the schedule in a second. But to put a bow on the defense, it hurts to lose Danny Stutzman, who is kind of like the quarterback of that defense. It hurts to lose Billy Bowman, Woody Washington in the secondary as well. But otherwise, with what they have here, the defense is loaded. I mean, I see the line as a big-time strength. I'm not going to read through all these guys.
You got an R. Mason Thomas kink?
What's that?
I said, do you have an R. Mason Thomas kink?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. No, there's a ton of production and obvious production and havoc on this roster.
Absolutely.
Peyton Bowen,
they're really deep up front. They bring over, Marvin Jones from Florida State. The linebacker room is Kip Lewis, Kendall Daniels. Secondary looks okay to me. The Bowen brothers, Eli and Peyton, back there as well. So they just have so much depth on defense that I think they have potential to be really good. The problem...
I kind of have a problem with your hair. It's bothering me.
The Lorenzo Lamas Flaw Finder is out here for the schedule. This is the only SEC team that does not play any of the projected bottom 4 in the league. They've got road games at South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. They've got the neutral site or the Red River game against Texas. They host Michigan in week 2. They also host Auburn, Ole Miss, Mizzou, and LSU. This is a monster schedule. They do have a couple weeks off with Illinois State and Kent State. But otherwise, Dan, this thing is loaded to the gills. Temple, they go to Temple.
They're going to be in Eastern PA, Ty.
They go to Temple if anybody wants to stop
by.
By
the way, Oklahoma fans, if for some reason you're going to that Temple game.
Angelo's? Go to Angelo's.
Unbelievable.
Get the cheesesteak.
Just get a hoagie anywhere. I think it's the sandwich capital of America. You can quote me. Continue.
So this is going to be, I think, a very, very tall ask for this Oklahoma defense. And especially this offense, because there are a lot of good defenses that they have to play against.
Sure.
Oklahoma is going to be better, right? We agree on this. They got to be better than they were a year ago.
Sure.
The question is how much. And this is where I think there has been a pretty wide disparity in thought. I have seen some that have Oklahoma in the playoff, Oklahoma as a contender in the SEC. I have seen others that have them at or near the bottom tier of the conference, not because they're not better, but because of the schedule that I just read off.
Right.
Where are you at on that spectrum?
What's the number again?
Well, the over-under is 6.5.
I think I'm going over. I don't know how dramatically. It could be barely.
I think it's a 7, maybe 8 win team if everything clicks.
Okay, so I'm TBD on the head coach element of it all. But
yes, that's fair.
If I am going to stick with my credo of quarterback and defense, I understand the offensive line and health issues from last year. I understand that there may not be obvious star power at receiver right now as we record this in early August. But if I'm going to stick to Napier and a top national, one of the best defenses in America, then I think they can win 7 or 8 games, no matter the schedule. If that's what your starting point is, quality quarterback, very good defense, and you assume health for everybody until shown otherwise, if Oklahoma has a top 5 defense in America,
right,
they can win 10 games. The offense just has to hold up its end of the bargain. The offense doesn't need to be amazing. But if the offense isn't amazing, doesn't matter. They're going to win games. I'm in that 7-8 range with them.
I've got them 8th in the conference. 8th in the conference, yeah. But they're in that X factor tier because Oklahoma, like Florida, like a few of the other teams that we've discussed here, just given their proximity to the influencers in the SEC.
Sure.
With all the ammo on this schedule, you pull off 1, you pull off 2 upsets, it changes the entire complexion of the conference. So
I agree.
Oklahoma is nothing if not interesting. That's why I said at the very top of this, they are the most interesting team in the country, given the stakes, given what they brought in, given the schedule, the conference that they play in,
Yeah.
You know, you're doing it wrong if you're not at least a little bit interested in what the Sooners do this year.
It's also kind of funny we're 8 months removed from using the word Oklahoma as a pejorative when talking about the playoff. Where you're just like, this is this incredible, historic, elite program. And in the conversation in December about Alabama, it's like, and you lost to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. This year's Oklahoma. How embarrassing for you that you lost to, look around, don't say it too loudly, Oklahoma. So, but they have an opportunity to change that, which is great.
Let's go to Tennessee, Dan.
Yeah.
Tennessee went to the college football playoff last year. They had a 10-win season. They lost in the first round, but I think we'd agree, successful season. Yes.
Yeah. Didn't wear their shirts heading into the shoe in Columbus, but
yeah.
One of the more newsworthy programs in America right now.
Oh, yeah.
Or in 2025, I should say.
Oh, yeah. No, that's an understatement, man. 8.5's the win total. How big of a drop-off do we see this year? Do we see any?
Yeah, I don't think they're a
drop-off
playoff
this year?
team. I don't see them as
Okay.
a playoff team.
I don't either, but how big of a drop-off are we thinking? Because still, 8.5's a pretty good number. You hit that over, you're getting a 9 wins. You might not be in the playoff, but that's still, I think, a successful season, or would be viewed as a successful season because there is a lot of turnover here.
Yeah.
How big of a step back are you feeling?
I think everything was pointing to last year as a significant year. Obviously, Nico had a year in the system before ascending to that starting role. Dylan Sampson was obvious pop in the backfield. The offensive line was experienced. Maybe not going into the year that there was an obvious true number 1 receiver, but that room seemed deep and talented and able to do what Josh Heupel asks. And the defense was stacked last year. So I just think there's obvious drop-off. I think the defense will be really, really good, but I think it is a more dramatic question on offense than even Oklahoma, just because of the quarterback change, just because the receiver room is thinned out, just because, and I think the running backs will be good, but I just think from afar, Tennessee fans who are much more plugged in are expecting a pretty noticeable drop-off, even with their disappointment with Nico's performance in 2024, that you're scrambling to find a quarterback in April or whatever.
I know.
It's asking a lot for this to be a top 30 offense in America. Willing to be surprised, but given the schedule, given the changes on that side of the ball, they can win a bunch of games because of this defense and merely being competent on offense. But yeah, I expect this to be 7-8 win territory.
Well, and I think that's the real point. Tennessee last year had its best defense of the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. I think they, again, end up leaning on their defense, probably to a greater degree. Know this, if they're hitting that over 8.5, it's because the defense is nails and because Josh Heupel's a wizard.
Correct.
On offense, right? If the offense could get its act together quickly, then maybe it's a different conversation because there's been like a real effort here to invest in this program on the recruiting trail, not so much live and die by the portal. There is talent on hand, which I look at and I say this is going to pay off in the future. Maybe the future is now.
Right.
That remains to be seen. So the new quarterback is going to be Joey Aguilar. he comes over from UCLA. He was previously at App State before UCLA. We had that bit of a transfer trade there with Aguilar coming to Tennessee, Nico going out to UCLA. It's not just him, though. That is new. There are new wide receivers. There are 4 new linemen. It hints at a bit of a transition year if you're looking at it from that perspective. Essentially, this is a move that, to Josh Pate's point when we had him on, is something that the Tennessee community is rather animated around.
Sure.
If Nico didn't want to be there for whatever reason, be it money, supporting cast, you name it, get rid of him. Let's bring someone else in. By virtue of that trade, if you really want to get deep in the weeds with this, they're saving about $1.2 million. I think Nico is getting about 2.5. Joey Aguilar is going to get around 1.2. So if you think of this in terms of like pro trades, a bit of a salary dump there, which I guess you'll take. But it looks like it's Aguilar's job to lose. He had a very good 2024 campaign, threw a ton of picks. And I think the transition to this new offense is not going to be the most optimal scenario.
Well,
I have referred to him as the middle-class Nussmeier because there's a little bit of gunslinger / hero ball in his game. But Josh Heupel's worked with guys like this before, and he's had a lot of success.
Yeah, and I think the offense, as we've seen it at times, and Nico, he had a different issue. He was taking a lot of sacks, and he was sort of timid a little bit too often in terms of pulling the trigger, throwing the ball downfield. This offense, at its best, makes things very simple for the quarterback. That
yes,
Joey Aguilar is not going to have to go through 4 or 5 receiver progressions, that something is there, something is not there. This is the decision.
A great point, and something you hear often
Yeah.
around the draft, right? We have heard this
And
before.
it's to the
talked about guys
detriment.
like
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker, right, or Joe
Right.
Milton at playing in this system. How does that translate to the NFL? I'm more speaking of it from the standpoint of he really showed up on campus late. Right?
Oh, of course.
You said this earlier. Looking for a quarterback in April is not optimal.
Yeah. So there is something with this like old Baylor system, all the different elements to the system where, yes, you can hold it against a quarterback at draft time. Josh Heupel's just trying to win games. And so that
Right.
works at its best. It works really well. So if they can run the ball, if the offensive line comes together, I'm not terribly worried about the defense. Their best corner is, I don't know when Jamal McCoy is going to play. He tore his ACL, I think, at the end of last year.
It was January. Yeah, he was working out at home in Texas
Yes.
and tore his ACL. So they're expecting they're going to get him back, but
I don't know,
have
September,
not seen
October.
an exact timetable at time
So
of
that's
recording.
big.
Yeah.
No, I expect them to have a really good defense. I expect them to have an offense that flashes at times, but I don't know if you have the schedule in front of you, but it's got to happen pretty quickly.
It's going to have to happen pretty quickly. I think the receiver room, I want to give a little bit more attention to that because they lose their top 3. They lose Squirrel White, Dante Thornton, Brew McCoy. That creates a pretty big void in this offense.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, they ran the ball really, really well, and I still think they'll be okay this year. They go like 3 deep at running back, even though Dylan Sampson is gone. But really getting that passing game to click is going to be important, given circumstances. Mike Matthews is back. I love Mike Matthews.
Yeah,
He's
he had like
the
6 catches last year. Yeah.
Former 5-star. I thought he was going to pop more last year. He didn't, but he needs to step up and play a leading role. The same is true to an extent Chris Brazzell, who everybody was excited about last season, last spring, especially when he came over from Tulane.
Yeah.
He is a key piece. They need to get some more pop out of that receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
Notably, both those guys have been nicked up. So it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I think we need to get more production out of that receiver room this year now. Somebody new needs to step up. And the line, the line's replacing 4 guys. You lose Cooper Mays in the middle of that line. That's a problem. So there's just a lot of moving pieces offensively there. It helps to have a good tight end room, but otherwise,
that helps.
Just a lot new.
Okay, so when I said that they need to figure it out quickly, they do have Georgia relatively early. If Tennessee, if future Dan arrives in your living room tonight, which, by the way, thanks for having him. That's very hospitable of you. That'd be very weird. Like, hi, I'm future Dan. If future Dan arrived and said, Tennessee is definitely pretty good in 2025, and then you look at the schedule and you're like, oh, so they're winning at least 8 games. Schedule's not terrible. They have Georgia early. They have Syracuse neutral site.
It's one of the easier schedules in the SEC. I think I saw 47th nationally. So relative to the field in the SEC, when we're talking about teams like the Floridas and the Oklahomas of the world,
Yeah.
both of whom I think play something like 7 ranked teams. It's like the highest in college football alongside Mississippi State, if you saw any of the new polls that came out.
Right.
Tennessee's not on that list, right? At least not that high on this list because it is one of the easier schedules in the conference.
Yep. And by the way, so Alabama gets Tennessee after they play Mizzou. Georgia has Tennessee in an optimal spot. Tennessee has Oklahoma a week after Oklahoma has Ole Miss. Like, Tennessee, and that game is in Knoxville, Tennessee can very quietly have a record that lies about how good they actually are in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, Tennessee's 9-3 and ranked number 16 in the country. They haven't looked that good, but here we are.
They're going to be led by defense. I think the defense is deep. Defense is talented. They are good at all three levels. I have the questions about Jermod McCoy,
Sure.
as we talked about earlier, but, they've got plenty across the board. I'm not just going to sit here and name names.
Yeah, it's great.
Here's what I'll say about Tennessee. This isn't a betting show.
In conclusion.
Tennessee is going to annihilate Syracuse in week 1.
I like that.
That is a neutral site game. They're playing it in Atlanta.
Turning your back on Steve Angeli immediately.
I don't know how this game came about. I like that it's occurring.
Yeah.
They're going to throttle Syracuse in that game.
Wow.
And there's going to be suddenly a lot of steam on Tennessee because week 1 has that tendency to make teams become more apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia week 3 at home. I don't know if perception will alter point spreads going into that Georgia game. Georgia is clearly a better team than Tennessee in my view at this stage. So just pay attention to that first 3-week stretch of the season.
Artificially low spread in that game.
Yes.
Georgia's only favored by 3.5 or something.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be more. But And I know that the people that make these lines aren't emotional about it. But the bettors, oftentimes, the more casual bettors who do go in on these types of games, especially a big one in week 3, Tennessee, Georgia, they tend to be a little bit more driven by emotion. Just pay attention to that line and pay attention to what happens in week 1. Because I haven't seen what the line is for that Syracuse game. I probably should have been better prepared. I think they're going to throttle Syracuse in that one.
Yeah, I mean, last year's Tennessee team scored 157 points the first 3 weeks of the season and then 14 against Arkansas as soon as October started. Yeah, okay.
So I think I'm on the under for Tennessee this year. Maybe going 8-4, just barely under. I think that's a good over-under. I don't hate this team. I just think there's a lot new.
Sure.
And I think Tennessee fans would be wise to show a little bit of patience, be mindful of the fact that they are building a really, really solid program under Heupel. The recruiting has been strong. There's a lot to like. It just might be a bit of a step back year because there is so much new.
They're just looking to date 2025 and then get serious with another year soon. Okay. For your consideration on any podcast player, search Solid Verbal, find us, and hit follow or subscribe. It's just that easy.
Where should we go next?
A&M.
Ooh.
Sink your teeth in, Ty.
Together. I'm rubbing my hands together, dog.
Yep. Dog.
As I get older, grays start popping up in the temples.
Or maybe as the black hair starts showing itself. You got maybe more gray than black.
Where's my button at here?
Not talking about this.
Oh, I'm done. If you're watching this on youtube.com/solidverbal, you're seeing the same thing on my scalp. Yeah, continue.
As I get older, I am more and more drawn to teams with really good rushing attacks and really good defense.
Okay.
Like, if you give me 5 more years, I'm wearing the defense wears championship
Defense
shirt.
wins championships. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've got A&M in my playoff this year.
Okay.
I am really high
Not a crazy take.
on Texas A&M. They were 8-5 a year ago. The over-under is 8.5. I don't care about any of that. You kind of know where I stand based on this intro. I'm assuming that it's all going to click for Texas A&M. My biggest question about A&M this year is the passing game. Like, can Marcel Reed, who is the dude now, can he develop into more of a consistent passer, or are they going to need a game plan around?
Can he live up to his last name when it comes to evaluating defenses, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Okay.
On offense, it is a double-edged sword with this guy. He definitely needs to get better at working the ball down the field. He definitely needs to improve decision-making, especially under pressure. Don't we all?
But he's a true freshman.
And he also was never officially given like the reins as the guy. It was always this timeshare, right? Now he's had a full offseason cycle to know he's the guy, for Colin Klein to know he's going to be the guy and put stuff in the playbook for him. So it's, probably not fair to be too critical of what we saw out of Marcel Reed.
Agree.
I think you're willing to live with some of that downside, though, knowing that the upside is he's a crazy good runner and he's an escape artist.
Yeah,
There's a lot to like with this game. So I think given the line, which is really solid, given the stable of running backs that he's got behind him, given that Colin Klein, I think, wants to prefer this style of football to begin with, I think they're going to give teams fits. And on the part 1 episode, I called them the Alabama of ULMs because I think they're going to run the crap out of the ball. I stand by that comparison.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a super duper physical rushing attack with a quarterback who, if improved, can make you pay if you start overcommitting.
Sure.
So I'm bullish. I am very, very bullish on Texas A&M.
All good points.
I think what I care most about is that last bit there, the overcommitting. And we've seen this time and again with a really good rushing attack and a quarterback who can put you on skates. If you've got a defense start to creep up, like I don't care about the completion percentage. I care about not throwing interceptions, and I care about having some of that explosive pop in the passing game.
Yeah.
And I think this guy can give them both. The opportunities are going to be there. They don't have the receivers right now who can go up and win like the big jump balls. Not a big receiving core, but they do have guys that are burners who I think can blow the top off the defense. That's what I care about with this offense. That's what I hope that they are building with this offense.
Right.
And if they can succeed, then they might find themselves into the playoff.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what the vision is for the offense, because if the clear strength is a deep running back room with LaShawn Daniels, Le'Veon. LaShawn Daniels, I think, was an Iowa running back like 4 years ago. At least I caught myself. Ruben Owens.
No, it's
Amari
Ruben
Daniels.
Owens. It's Le'Veon Moss. It's Amari
yeah.
Daniels. It's a stable of running backs.
Yes, and obviously Reed can run well. The offensive line, while experienced, I think needs to go up another level, and you're right about the receivers. So it's just like, okay, Colin Klein has these ingredients. What does the meal look like? That's going to be super fascinating to me.
I think the line, it's all 5 starters back from the line. I agree they got to take a step forward.
Yeah.
But if they do, they could win the Joe Moore Award.
Sure.
Like, there's just a lot, I think, to like, provided they assume that identity with this offense, which, again, I hope they do. Defensively, the issue last year was the secondary. They had a really good pressure rate from the pass rush, but they didn't convert those into sacks. And then you know what happens. Oftentimes, the secondary can't hold its own. You start giving up a bunch of big chunk plays.
Right.
This is not a case this year of like, oh man, new secondary, these guys gotta gel quickly. They're coming from UNC Wilmington.
They're all from UTEP,
and Temple and UTEP. We got 5 UTEP guys here again. That is not the case. The secondary is pretty much all back, including Will Lee, who I like.
Mm-hmm.
They added some experience via the portal, but I think there is enough experience back there that hopefully they can take a step forward as a group. It's not going to be a question of, are these guys going to mesh?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the story of the defense, frankly. It's having a lot back. It's the fourth most returning production in the country on the defensive side of the ball. That includes a great duo of Tarian York, of Scooby Williams at linebacker. That is a fantastic pairing. They did lose some along the line, but I think it's more of a reload than a rebuild. I am very bullish on A&M. I like offense. I like defense. I have minimal questions. I'm all in. I got him in the playoff.
Okay, so if you are enthusiastically and thoroughly horned up for A&M this year,
I am.
They go to South Bend week 3.
They do.
The intent of A&M's offense is probably going to be a little bit different than Notre Dame's, but you're still talking about great running back play.
Dude, that's the
experienced
measuring
lines.
stick. That's the measuring stick for both teams.
And also,
year.
if you're saying A&M has issues giving up too many plays downfield, buddy, Notre Dame has got you covered because they can't do any of that stuff. And they've got a new starting quarterback, excuse me.
They didn't last year.
Right.
I mean,
They haven't for a minute.
no. I mean, the road games are at ND week 3.
Mm-hmm.
They're at Arkansas. They're at LSU. They're at Mizzou. They're at Texas. And that Lone Star game, the rivalry game, is at Texas for the first time in a decade. So there will be stakes on that game late in the season.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that going into this. Clearly that one's going to be circled. But like to the point, there are going to be a lot of big games on this. The pivotal ones for me, I think the ones that define the season, clearly Notre Dame, week 3. That's the measuring stick to see how they stack up against another
Right.
really
Last year
physical
was
team.
Elko's first game, week 1. Yeah, like it's a
Yes.
different scenario. Yeah.
They are home against Florida on October the 11th. They are home against South Carolina on November the 15th. Those 3 games in particular, totally separate from the road games that I mentioned a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 3 that I am looking at. All right. So, yes, at Notre Dame, that one goes without saying, but home against Florida, home against South Carolina. I think the season tilts on those 3 games
Okay.
for A&M. I'm going over. I have to go over. I said 8.5. If I've got them in the playoff, I've got them as like a 9 or 10 win team. I think a lot comes together. I like what they've got across the board. Maybe it's not a crazy take. You can call me crazy if you want. Let me know in the comments what you feel about Texas A&M, but I'm in.
A couple of those perhaps winnable games for A&M come at an advantageous spot. They have Auburn at home a week after Auburn is at Oklahoma. So some body blow theory there. They have Florida a week after Florida hosts Texas. So that's nice for A&M. That should be
By the way,
fun game.
I love that you're doing this.
Yeah.
I love that you are going a level deeper and working out the matrix in your head for pretty much all of these power conference teams and how the schedule sets up.
It's also, okay, so this is the SEC, so the counterpoint would be like, yeah, there's a bunch of really scary-looking teams and quality teams, so of course you're going to get somebody a week before or a week after or whatever. Mizzou doesn't. Some of these teams have great schedules. Tennessee's schedule's pretty good. So, yeah, this is, I think, working to A&M's advantage because of the, if you are tired after playing Texas, if you are beat up after playing Oklahoma's defense, and then you're staring down an A&M team who just wants to gash you on the ground over and over again with a bunch of 21-year-old offensive linemen that can keep rotating in and out running backs that are going to gash you, it's potentially extremely bad news.
I couldn't agree more, and more to the point, that game on week 3 at Notre Dame is going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, smash burger.
It's going to be low scoring, and I'm not so sure that A&M doesn't come out of that one as the winner. I think that's going to be a hell of a football game.
So you've established Notre Dame's beating Miami week 1. You're on the record.
They are.
You're on the record. Tennessee's smashing Syracuse.
Yes.
What else have you said? What else are your early season guarantees? I forget now at this point. I'm very old. My grain temples.
I'd have to go back and check.
Oh, you did you say Texas is absolutely beating Ohio State? You said that.
Yeah, Texas is going to beat Ohio State. We know that.
Okay, on the road, week 1.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to remember your other mark me downs.
Yeah, we'll make a board when we get to the predictions episode. I'm going to get a whiteboard here behind me. We'll jot these down.
Love to hear it.
But that big one on September the 13th in South Bend, Notre Dame off a bye.
Yeah.
Tantalizing, to say the least.
Sure.
Certainly. I'm in on A&M. I'm in.
The obvious counterpoint, once again, is A&M doesn't win 9-10 games.
It is.
There's a lot of pressure. There always seems to be reasons why quarterback doesn't work out or defense doesn't work out or coaches don't work out. I like Mike Elko a lot. I think if there's a guy who can sort of buck that trend, I just think he's a really good coach.
Let's talk Arkansas, Dan.
Okay.
7-6 last year. Your over/under is 5.5. Let me paint you a picture of the Hogs this year.
Please.
Headed into this season. Sam Pittman going into year 6.
Mm-hmm.
Year 6. I know they like him down there. He's coaching for his job.
Yep.
Last year, it was 7-6 campaign. They did go to a bowl. They were certainly entertaining. I do think it's fair to wonder at this point what everybody in the room is asking, and that is, does Sam Pittman know how to break through and get out of this cycle? Because the harsh reality is this. Arkansas's got one of the most difficult schedules in all of college football this year.
Yes.
I think you combine that with what has been the undercurrent of this program, being that they have had more portal departures than any other SEC program over the last 3 years, it's hard to be optimistic in the face of that. This is just not a situation where it's like they're bringing in like for like guys. Okay, we lost somebody big to Alabama. We're going to bring in somebody big from Penn State.
Yeah.
They're bringing in replacement level guys, Dan.
Yeah.
So they're doing that to fill the gaps, to build some depth. It feels like there has been a slow drain of talent out of Fayetteville, and that's not a great situation.
Right.
The good news is Taylon Green. Taylon Green's fun at quarterback. If you are optimistic about the Hogs this year, it's because you saw him last year and you said, hey, there's upside. And he said, hey, this is going to be year 2 now under Bobby Petrino. Maybe he learns a little bit. Maybe he refines his game a little bit. The best of him throws a great deep ball, can run like a deer, is a straight up playmaker back there. The worst of him is loose with the football, fumbles a little too much, tries a little too hard to force a big play. He needs to be more consistent if they want to have any chance of hitting that over. And I think that's probably where you got to start pretty confidently with all of your Arkansas previews out there. He's got to play well. If he doesn't play well, then we're going to start talking about these other issues that could bring this team even lower. They lost their entire receiving core, right? Their top 4 guys, including Andrew Armstrong, all gone. Luke Haas, another name.
Yeah.
He transferred out. So while Taylon Green might be able to stretch the field vertically, it's a question of who's he throwing to. And if he's not consistent, it's even more of a question of can they get any pop out of this passing game?
Yeah.
I think the line will be improved. I think the line will be better. It's important that Taylon Green get some time to throw back there. It's important that there be some sort of ground game to give him a compliment so that it's not all on him. But it comes down to whether or not they can get that level of consistency out of Taylon Green. And if they can, then it's like, how far can he take them? But as a starting point, at least for this conversation, if they don't get that play out of him, it's a problem.
Yeah. And I mean, how many times have we seen a quarterback without proven receivers? And that's not to say that the transfers coming in can't be pretty good. Andrew Armstrong came in from, was it like Texas A&M Commerce? Like it was a very small, he was a D2 transfer. Yeah. So they can hit on these guys. They can evaluate and they can develop. Part of the problem with Taylon Green is he's not flawless.
No.
He himself has been a wild card. For every 3 incredible plays, there's a play that completely changes the trajectory of a game, of a half a season, of a quarter, whatever, that there are some mental mistakes going on there as well. So he needs to, we talked about if Florida has a boring year, that's a good thing. We need to say Taylon Green needs a boring season. Exciting plays, but boring in terms of decision-making, boring in terms of turnovers, boring in terms of general poise, whatever. So that's what I'm looking for from him, because he's not advantaged with what's around him from a proven perspective.
No.
He's not advantaged with I only need to score 27 points a week because my defense can take care of business. Defense very much could not on the back end last year.
No. And that's where I was going with this next, because I'm burying the lead a little bit, starting the conversation with Taylon Green, because the most concerning bit coming into this year, or at least looking back at last, was the pass rush and the secondary.
Yep.
They got no pressure.
You need one or the other, friends.
Yeah, the spreadsheet that I look at is all red in the pass defense categories.
Yeah.
So this year, you're looking at 2 returning starters, a couple of transfers in the secondary. It is very questionable to me whether or not they're going to improve this thing. I'm not sure the pass rush is going to improve either now that Landon Jackson and some others are gone. It's like I was thinking, what was the scene? Lucille Ball in the Cookie Factory?
Chocolates,
whatever that
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, where the conveyor belt's going and she's trying to pick the cookies up and she's eating them. It just seems like there's a lot to keep up with here on the Arkansas side, especially on defense. The one bright spot is the interior of that defensive line. The run defense is still anchored by Cam Ball, who was really solid last year. I think defensively they'll definitely show some bite against the run, but how they defense against the pass is going to be a real issue here, and probably the bigger story that will dictate success, as opposed to Taylon Green, who's important in his own right, but you got to stop people. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a non-starter.
Yeah, and the defense did improve last year for whatever it's worth. We saw the win against Tennessee look like a nice step forward. They did get 63 scored on them by Ole Miss a few weeks later. They just didn't seem to be the same team week to week. Like, they did a good job against Texas, keeping that close and frustrating Texas.
It wasn't even week to week. It was play to play.
It was play to play. Yeah. But then the bowl against Texas Tech, I think, you can only take so much away when there's so much roster turnover, but I think vibes are at least okay in Fayetteville right now. And by the way, shout out to you for connecting with the youth on an episode in which you're talking about how graying you are, mentioning a show that was broadcast in black and white as a reference point. Good job.
Everybody's seen that clip, though.
Nobody. You have to explain to people who Lucille Ball is in 2025.
All right. In the comments on YouTube, because apparently that helps.
Yeah.
Let me know if you're old enough to know that clip or have seen that clip, even if you're
I think we have viewers.
Who watch the show.
I think we have viewers and listeners who get it. But
I want them all to comment because, again, apparently
that was
helps.
like 70 years ago.
Probably was.
Yeah. Okay. Where we going next? South Carolina? Does that sound good?
Well, I just wanted to talk about the schedule real quick.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
You look at the schedule, you completely get why the over-under is 5.5.
Yeah.
And unless there is like a big leap forward, I can't put Arkansas in a bowl. Road games at Ole Miss, at Memphis, which is a non-con game, which actually is a tough matchup.
It's a good year to get Memphis. They lose a lot, but yeah.
Yes. At Tennessee, at LSU, at Texas. They also play Notre Dame, another SEC team with Notre Dame on the schedule. It's at home. They get A&M at home, Auburn, Mizzou. It's tough.
Sure.
This is tough. I'm under. I'm like 4-8 for Arkansas this year.
Yeah, I think 5-7 is where I sit. I mean, look, you get Notre Dame, as you mentioned. Like, it just doesn't help with the number. The game's in Fayetteville, though, right?
It's in Fayetteville.
Arkansas is hosting. I don't think even like let down look ahead wise, there are some spots, but you got to have that base of like known quality that Arkansas I just don't think has in this moment. Thrilled to be surprised. I've long said Arkansas is the most college football program. Thrilled to be surprised by them this year.
Speaking of known quality.
Yes, Lenoris Sellers is good.
Talk about the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Yeah, he's good.
9-4 last year. The over-under is 7.5 this year. They closed out the regular season with a 6-game winning streak, including that big win over Clemson to close things out. They were on the fringes of that playoff conversation. It was a very successful year for Shane Beamer. I think the main question going into 2025 is whether or not that defensive front seven can be rebuilt quickly enough to complement what should be a fun as hell offense with Lenoris the Creator.
Sure.
We call him Lenoris the Creator on this episode for those newcomers, okay? If you've watched Lenoris Sellers, you know why.
Yes.
You know why. He is the kind of quarterback who gives you a chance every play, every game. He is fun. He is going to be fun again. He just needs a little bit of help from that defensive front. They lose a lot. Now, the more nuanced Tide take that people heard in part one was me worrying about depth. Because there are 3 big headliners, 3 big names that are on lists.
I'm ready.
Lenoris the Creator, Dylan Stewart, maybe the best pass rusher in the conference in the world at this point. I don't know. Nick Harbor. That might just be me, okay? We can get into that in a second.
Do you think announcers will note that Nick Harbor has legit track speed during South Carolina games this year?
Like 7 times per game.
This guy's a legit track guy.
Let me zoom out a little bit, though.
Please.
Let me examine my own take there. If we zoom out a little bit, if we're looking at the defense, this was an outstanding unit last year. Front 7 got cleaned out. Kyle Kennard, he was the all-world everything, first-team All-American. He's gone. 4 interior linemen are gone. TJ Sanders, 3 linebackers. A lot of these guys are gone. The secondary, much more of a veteran presence this year.
Best player's gone, though.
Yeah.
Nicky Manwari, yeah.
But there's enough back there, I think, to be comfortable.
Yeah.
So back to the original point. It's a question of how are they going to fill those gaps? It's going to be a combination of a few transfers, a lot of younger guys. I count only 3 seniors on the projected starting lineup of this defense. So how the underclassmen perform, I think, ultimately defines the ceiling. It helps to have Dylan Stewart as a starting point.
Great starting point.
Right? He had a sack and a half and 2 forced fumbles in his first game last year. Then he went on to be a freshman All-American. That's a good starting point. You'll take that.
Of course.
He's the type of talent that down the road, you're talking him up as like maybe a number 1 overall pick. The 2 guys that I am watching, Gabriel Brownlow Dindy. I had to say it slowly. I'm going to call him GBD.
Great.
315, a former 5-star. I don't know if GBD is legal for recreational use in South Carolina.
Probably not.
But it probably is going to be outlawed around the rest of the SEC, provided he pops. We'll see how this season goes.
Yes.
Get yourself a good 15 milligram dose of GBD this year.
Yeah. Get high on GBD.
Secondly, Fred Johnson,
Okay.
linebacker. Fred Johnson played 13 games as a true freshman, described on the official South Carolina team website as rangy, as smooth, as fast, and extremely talented.
That's how they talked about you as a second baseman in 11th grade, right?
Always.
Always the descriptor. Yeah.
If he's good, Dan, he's going to do something that might be your favorite thing ever. He's going to give that SEC a real Freducation.
We love a Freducation. Shout out Mississippi State in like the early 20-teens, I think.
Absolutely.
Fred Ross? Yeah.
So I am like talking myself in circles a little bit here with South Carolina. There are headliners. I think what I am really saying is I want to know who the contributors are going to be behind those headliners and who pops. Maybe it'll be GBD or Fred Johnson. Maybe it'll be others. Again, the secondary is experienced. I like what they've got back there. Even Evan Maxwell, Dan, has some eligibility. I think he gives them a veteran presence on the back end of that defense.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what they look like on that side of the ball. Again, offensively, they're building the plane out of Lenoris, the creator.
Yeah. It's a great starting point. You're right about that. I'm not sure I'm same page with you with Nick Harbor as somebody who will pop, or I guess you're just curious about his
I'm curious.
pop potential. Yeah.
The skills are there. He's like third.
Well, I think the raw physical tools are
Yes.
there, but yeah, he wasn't like a scary weapon catching 7 balls a game. Yeah.
Third on Bruce's freaks list.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody acknowledges that there are freak athletes on this team. It's not just him. Lenoris Sellers was like 33rd on Bruce's list. Let me start with him, though, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Elusive as hell. He forced 18 missed tackles alone in that Clemson game. He's a really good deep passer. How Shane Beamer uses him will be interesting. The answer could be however the hell he wants.
Right.
Because it seems like he can do a little bit of everything. None of us should question the creator. I don't question the creator this year. I think he can do it all.
Yeah.
And I don't really question their 2 returning tackles, but I question the interior line. I question what the running game looks like now that Rocket Sanders is gone. I'm still waiting as you
New
are
offensive coordinator, too.
New offensive coordinator.
Mike Shula, yeah.
I'm still waiting as you are, as everybody is, for Nick Harbor to show more than just flashes.
Yeah.
There are questions about this offense outside of Lenoris Sellers.
I agree.
Right? They need receivers to pop and stay healthy. They need Rasul Faison, their transfer running back from Utah State, to get his damn waiver through the NCAA so he can play.
Mm-hmm.
I realize these aren't the only guys, but at least it seems to me like Lenoris needs some playmakers around him.
Yeah.
And he cannot do it all. He might be fun as hell if he's trying to do it on his own. But some of these other names that I'm mentioning, Mazeo Bennett, like some of these guys need to pop and give him a little bit of cover because he will not be able to do it all on himself. There's just no way. He's a big guy. I think he can withstand the pressure of an SEC schedule. 6'3", 240. That's a big dude who can do all these things. He needs some help.
I think South Carolina is going to be good. I don't think they're going to be a team with the ceiling of last season. And even last season, there were issues, and they needed everything from Lenoris Sellers to win that Clemson game because they had to overcome some mistakes from Lenoris Sellers. They finished 7 of their final 9 games are as follows. Mizzou, at Mizzou, at LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, at Ole Miss, at A&M, and Clemson.
Yeah, buddy.
It's not a good year to have this much turnover. And I understand this is the way of the sport now, and whoever navigates this much turnover is ultimately who is going to be the ones that, come out on top. That's too much. That's too much for me. And Shane Beamer has sort of had an every other year, 1 year up, 1 year down, 1 year up, I just think they are due for a stretch of struggle and figure it out. They can be Clemson again if they're, together and have everything in order. It has the feel of 7-5 to me.
I want you to know that as we were doing this preview,
Shane Beamer has stepped down. No.
Because of that schedule?
Yeah.
I have just purchased for us the domain of
Cocktober.com.
Oh, no, Ty.
I'm going to get some interesting emails wanting to buy that one, aren't I?
I mean, you might get some huge offers. Some huge, throbbing, veiny offers on Cocktober.com. Okay, well.
Because it's Cocktober, if you're a South Carolina fan. Because of what you described. Those games in October, right? At LSU, home against Oklahoma, home against Alabama, on the road at Mississippi, I guess, November 1st. But it's going to be a very, very big.
Meaty middle.
Big, meaty Cocktober, yeah.
That's right. For the South Carolina Gamecocks.
When Solid Wife Kate over some veggie enchiladas tonight, how was your day? And you're like, oh, let me tell you something. We spent $17 of our retirement.
$18.99.
$18.99 of our precious retirement on Cocktober. Is it .net?
No, it's .com.
.com. Okay.
We got Cocktober.com, baby.
Congratulations to you and yours, Ty. Where are we going next?
$19.99 with taxes.
Okay.
By the way, the Evan Maxwell I mentioned earlier is not actually in the secondary. He was in our Spotify comments. I just wanted to make sure he's paying attention. Big South Carolina.
Lock in, Evan. Lock in.
Lock in, baby. Come on.
Okay. Where are we going?
We got 2 teams left. Let's go to Auburn.
All right.
I'm tired of talking. Give me your Auburn spiel.
Auburn has the potential to, again, be one of the most fun teams in the country, but also win games. I am not a buyer if our motto on college football in 2025 is stability is currency. Auburn doesn't feel like the most stable place in the world right now, at least on offense. There is somewhat of a quarterback battle, but I think we expect Jackson Arnold to win this battle. They are as advantaged at starting receiver as any team in the country. Their offensive line, while experienced, is kind of TBD to me, just because they brought in the weak link of USC's offensive line last year to shore up a tackle spot.
Yeah.
That worries me. I think they'll have enough pop at running back even without Jarquez Hunter. Defense should be good. Say what you will about DJ Durkin, human being. He develops a lot of good defenses.
They got better last year.
Of course, I'm saying. Say what you will about as a human being, as a defensive coordinator. He's rock solid. There are some battles along this defense. They're in a good place at enough position groups on both sides of the ball that it would be stunning considering how they lost games last year, which is red zone miscues, turnover miscues.
You're setting me up, Iceman.
It would be insane to do that 2 years in a row. And so, for that reason, Sarks, I'm in on Auburn.
You're in. You're in on Auburn.
I'm in because I just don't think mathematically you can lose that way over and over, year after year after year. So even though Jackson Arnold hasn't exactly proven himself to be a stable, safe quarterback, making his own errors at Oklahoma with his own issues around him that are not his fault or were not his fault at Oklahoma, I'm not so sure when your competition is Jackson Arnold, who comes in with baggage, but obviously a good amount of potential and talent, and Ashton Daniels from Stanford dealing with a troubling situation in Palo Alto in terms of talent and plan and pop on that offense and offensive line issues, and a true freshman and Deuce Knight, that there's no obvious reason that quarterback is going to be solved this year, but it also seems like Hugh Freeze has been there long enough. There's enough back. There's enough reasons why it should go right that it'll improve. So I'm kind of in on Auburn this year.
Well, look, I really like what Auburn did in the portal.
Yeah.
I love what Auburn did in the portal. I do. And I really like putting this preview together because the biggest question was also the most obvious. I love when it's just clear as day like that.
Yeah.
And it's what is Jackson Arnold's ceiling? I loved him coming out of high school. I'm eager to see what he can do with a new team. My concern is that last season kind of broke his brain.
Yeah.
And that he's going to be trapped in limbo like Leo's character in Inception. I'm a little bit worried about that with Jackson Arnold. But this is the question that's going to define the season. He did show flashes at Oklahoma. I remember people writing in after his freshman year when he got limited action, and we had reverbs that came in on the voicemail line. Like this, They found their guy. He processes the game quickly. He can do what is required. Last year, we didn't get those messages.
No.
It was not the case last year. It seemed like his awareness regressed. It just seemed like, despite the fact that we saw him show off his legs against Alabama, the sub question that was underpinning everything was, is this guy taking a step back because he's not as good as we thought, or because his supporting cast isn't good?
He's playing in quicksand. Yeah.
Yeah. The cast of characters this year is definitely better than what he had last season.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
All right. And this isn't me comparing Auburn in 2025 to Oklahoma in 2025, but Auburn in 2025 definitely has a better supporting cast than Oklahoma did in 2024. I'm not sure they're better at running back, but the receiver room is loaded.
Yes.
It's an extremely veteran line. It's a system that should be quarterback friendly. He will have every opportunity to succeed. So Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Eric, don't call me Livingston Singleton.
There is an Eric Livingston in this sport, to be clear. Continue.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We do a lot of these previews. These guys have all the attributes that they need. They got the guy who can win the jump balls and the burner and the guy who can pull the top off a defense and run their intermediates. Like, if it's not Jackson Arnold, it might be Ashton Daniels. It might be Deuce Knight. They've got options across the board to make this team better. And I think that's apparent. Auburn's problem, to your earlier point, was that they had production. They just couldn't convert it into points. They couldn't convert it into wins. This was one of the nation's worst red zone offenses.
Yep.
Bill Connolly put together, I think, in his preview, the same spiel that he talked about with us when we had him on the show. The good news is that this was basically an 8-4 team last year that played at a 5-7 level. They got to figure out a way to reduce some of those bonehead moments.
Yeah.
Get more out of their red zone offense for sure. And the defense, the defense got better. Like, I think every conversation around the Auburn defense needs to start with Keldrick Falk.
Sure.
Or Keldrick Falk, who is 6'6", 270, a lock as a top 20 pick, probably higher.
Mm-hmm.
He is an absolute game wrecker. And I'm not sure about the other guys in that line, especially in the middle. Auburn took on some losses there. Elsewhere there's a question. I think the secondary is talent. I'm not flashing like an SOS or anything like that. They'll be fine. If I'm asking questions though about the defense, it's the middle of the line, the linebacker room.
Yep.
That type of thing. So they got questions they got to answer up front, but they got Keldrick Falk as a starting point.
Are you going to buy Falktober.com now?
No. We already blew the domain budget.
Okay.
$19.99, including taxes on Cocktober.
Yeah. Thank you.
Schedule looks front-loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the obvious tough games are in the first 7 weeks. At Oklahoma, at A&M, home against Georgia. They got a road opener against Baylor on a Friday night, which I think is low-key a very big game. But the back half is winnable. They could beat Mizzou. They could beat Arkansas,
Sure.
Kentucky, and Vandy. Mercer.
They can beat Georgia.
Bama in the Iron Bowl.
Mm-hmm. At
That
home.
game's at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what to make of Auburn this year. I really don't. I have no clue. Again, 7.5 year over under. I think a lot comes down to Jackson Arnold. And I just don't know how to gauge whether or not he's actually good or it was just trapped with a supporting cast that wasn't.
Well, and here's the other thing, too, is you can say that his situation at Oklahoma was disadvantageous. Is that a word? That feels like a word, Ty.
It is now.
Was less than ideal. I don't know if you turn to playing for Auburn as a stable turn in life, right? I don't know that that's the landing spot. You're just like, I just want things to calm down, so I'm transferring to Auburn, right? So that's a concern that this is a place, this is a landing spot for a transfer quarterback, and Auburn has had successful transfer quarterbacks before. You go back, obviously they're the best quarterback in Auburn history was a transfer. I think all of the best, like Jarrett Stidham, Nick Marshall, Cam Newton, these guys are all transfers. I just worry when you come from where Oklahoma has been that you are looking for everything in its place ready for you to succeed. Auburn's just not necessarily that school year over year. I like these players. I like who they have on this roster. I don't hate this schedule. It's not easy. You definitely have to be good right away, but you get to start out with like the Baylor secondary. That should be nice.
Yeah. What secondary?
You're right. Well,
they didn't have a secondary last
They
year.
portaled in some guys. We'll see if it works. But I think Auburn can flash a lot of pop this year and win a bunch of games. So I have them going over 7.5.
I think they're over 7.5 too. I just don't know how much over.
Sure, that's fine.
Close this thing out with the Vanderbilt Commodores, Dan.
Let's.
Maybe the most unlikely success story in college football.
Sure.
Given circumstances, the conference they play in, Clark Lee's revived the program. We know he wants to be there. He's excited to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The first winning season since 2013, including that monumental upset of number 1 Alabama.
Yeah.
That had everybody talking, and I'm sure Vandy fans pinching themselves a little bit, throwing the goalpost into the Cumberland River.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment. So definitely overachieved last year. Overachievers tend to regress. It's a little complicated when you consider that they've got a lot back. They lead the SEC in returning production. They didn't lose that much on either side of the football. So, yes, overachieved a year ago. Yes, regression tends to follow, but a lot coming back. The obvious question is, can they build on that? How much can they build on that, Dan?
Right. It's a good question. They're not sneaking up on anyone this year.
No.
And so that is going to be different. Their road schedule is brutal.
At Virginia Tech, at South Carolina, at Alabama, at Texas, at Tennessee to close out the year. Yeah.
They have the best tight end in the conference. They have the guttiest quarterback in the conference. They've got a good defensive-minded head coach. They hit the portal pretty hard, which for schools that have Vanderbilt or Stanford or Northwestern, that type of academic standing, that's not an annual occurrence. So they're proactive in maintaining this roster. Obviously, they were proactive last year with the New Mexico State players, bringing in Jerry Kill. But I think they had the sneak attack factor last year. And there was a well-coached game. They made timely plays when they beat Alabama. That game was at home. Vandy on the road, playing against these places who are just going to show the Alabama film on the monitors in the facility all week long leading up is just different.
Just on loop, right?
Just looping it.
Yeah, man.
And so you kind of saw that at the end of the year where like South Carolina's not sleeping on them. LSU's not sleeping on them. Tennessee obviously was not sleeping on them in state. So I think it's going to be a different kind of year. I don't think they're making a bowl game this year. I think they're in sort of like, they'll sneak on somebody. They'll beat somebody in an ugly way. But I think it's more of a 4-8, 5-7 type year.
Yeah, I'm out. I like Diego Pavia, and I've said it time and again, he's a big game hunter. Now, he was doing a little bit of talking in this preseason, talking up like playoffs. I mean, forget it.
Great.
But good for him. Like, you want that kind of confidence.
You
out
don't
of the
succeed
quarterback.
without confidence. Yeah.
No. So he's not doing anything wrong.
Right.
But I hear that, and I kind of roll my eyes a little bit when I look at the schedule. But they have a lot back. And I'm curious to see if they can build upon that. The offense, the system that they run is kind of hard to prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that does give them a little bit of an advantage, I think. But you're right. They're not going to be sneaking up on anyone this year. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like overall, Vandy's defense improved, but against the pass, it was a nightmare. And I do think the secondary is going to get better. I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough this season. I think they're fine up front. The front seven's okay.
Yeah.
But you're going to be able to throw a lot on Vandy, and some of these teams that we rattled off, they're going to be able to throw on Vandy. I think I'm with you. 6-6 last year. This year's win total's 5.5. I can't get them to more than 5 wins. At least not on
I think
paper.
that's right. But as you mentioned before, some of these teams are advantaged in terms of when they're getting teams. Vanderbilt is advantaged in terms of when they're getting teams. They have South Carolina a week before South Carolina travels to Mizzou, but I don't know. I don't think a look ahead that early in the season is that huge a deal. They get Alabama once again after the Georgia game.
Yep.
So there's that at least, but that game is in Tuscaloosa. They get LSU in a sandwich spot between South Carolina and A&M.
Wow.
They get
I called that one out, I think, didn't I, in part 2?
That sounds right.
Yeah, that's a big-time sandwich spot.
They get Mizzou a week after Mizzou has Alabama and Auburn on the road in consecutive weeks. Okay? The Texas spot, I think, is fine. They have Auburn. The Auburn spot is fine. There was somebody else. Oh, Tennessee has Vandy, and look, that's an in-state, big deal game in better years. A week after Tennessee, I believe, is at Florida. So they are advantaged situationally with some nice spots.
Comment on the YouTube video, comment out on Spotify.
Yes.
Send us an email, solidverbal@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media. Lord knows there's a million ways you can get in touch if you want to. Let us know where we're right. Let us know where we're wrong. Let us know your predictions for the 8 teams that we discussed or for the conference as a whole.
If your comment is nice, we love you. If it's not so nice, doesn't matter. We're still friends.
We've done 134 teams now.
That's true.
Which is crazy.
Yep.
But we made it through the bulk of this. As you said, we got Notre Dame and UConn, which we'll bolt on to the episode that we do next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're allowed to fumble with a name or two. Lord knows I've done it a million times.
If you're excited for Ty to do a solid 17 minutes on Leonard Moore, that show is going to be for you.
That show will be for you.
Yeah.
We do own Cocktober, 1999. I have no idea what we're going to do with it, but we have it.
Sexy Halloween costumes.
We stand ready
Yeah.
for whatever goes down for South Carolina in the month of October.
Okay.
We stand ready for the Kind Verballerhood weighing in with their thoughts on where all things SEC go this season. We would encourage you not just to comment, but to check out verballers.com if you want to support what Dan and I do. If nothing more, hit follow, hit subscribe, leave a star rating or a review. All of this stuff helps us grow. We have had a really big preseason doing these previews.
Yeah.
The previews have really popped in a way that I did not expect. So I'm pretty excited about the state of the show at the moment. I'm pretty excited, obviously, talking through these teams with you. We do have a predictions episode that is going to be forthcoming. We got to get through the woods, though, on doing all of our previews to be complete here. We can't do the predictions before that. So this coming Tuesday is going to be a news show to cover some of the things that we have not had a chance to address because we've been doing previews. We're also going to bolt Notre Dame and UConn onto the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe a little bit later on in the week or maybe the Sunday before week 0. I haven't quite figured out the math yet. At that point, we're going to do our predictions. We'll talk through, again, who's winning conferences, which you already have heard if you've listened to these episodes, but who's making the playoff, who we've got coming out of the playoff, that type of stuff. Any other predictions that you want to bolt on there, Dan, we can include those in that episode as well.
You want to hear my impression of all of the Brazzers executives listening to the show and finding out that they can no longer purchase Cocktober.com?
How was it available?
Here's my impression.
I don't know how it was available.
Here's my impression. What? No! What? Shh.
Listen, make me an offer. Make me an offer. We will sell it. We will gladly
Absolutely,
sell it.
we will profit from this. Yep.
We'll absolutely. Somebody tried to buy Brocktober off of us, which we still have.
Nice.
And they were only offering like $100. You're going to need to do better than that.
Come on. Ty needs a second beach house.
But I need a first beach house. I need to pay off this house.
Yeah.
Solidverbal@gmail.com, as always, is the email address. Thank you, one and all, for bearing with us here through all of our conference previews. The SEC now in the books. We got a few more to tie up the loose ends to really get you ready for the season and make sure it's complete. But I'm excited. Congratulations. We did a good job.
I agree.
Hit follow, hit subscribe one more time. Verballers.com if you want to support. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildenbrandt. You know the drill. As always, stay solid.
Peace.